That she is. Hillary Clinton's single biggest political story this weekend after she went to Iowa, flipped some burgers, and spoke at the Tom Harkin steak fry. Trust me, it's a big deal in Iowa. She told the crowd what we already knew, that she's, quote unquote, thinking about running for president again. Yeah, right. Hillary was not alone on the Iowa stage, just like she will not be alone if and when she plans to run for president. Now, right there alongside her, this guy. I think you remember him, President Bill Clinton. He remains her biggest campaign cheerleader and potentially one of her biggest political handicaps, at least some would argue. Let's be honest, the former president cast a very large shadow. Hillary, she spoke for 20 minutes Saturday. Bill, for 45, or maybe even more, the last count. Or as the Times put it, quote, after indulging a few questions, Mrs. Clinton drifted away, and the grill side session soon became the Tom and Bill Clinton show. Mostly, it was the latter. As she has been the case throughout the political career, once Mr. Clinton got going, there was no stopping him. Will the unstoppable Bill be a campaign problem for Hillary? And you can argue, Andrew, that along the primary fight that she had, he was as much of a net negative than a positive for her, especially when he took some of the stuff personal, the issues of race, et cetera, that came up on the trail.
Yeah, he was. There were some spots along the campaign where he targeted Barack Obama, then candidate Barack Obama, maybe to Hillary Clinton's peril. Let's keep in mind, though, that this is a Bill Clinton now that's sort of recast after the 2012 presidential election, where he went to bat for Barack Obama and became the beloved voice of the Democratic Party once again. So it will be interesting to see how he's deployed. It will be interesting to see if they put him in a box at all. I don't know how you keep him in a box. That's one of their challenges also, because Bill will be Bill.
Well, the question is the clock here. We'll talk about Hillary in a second, but how to best use Bill Clinton. And again, 26 months of this, right? So what role do you think he assumes as the campaign moves forward? And she had the book, so there was a rationale. There's Iowa. We're going to see her in New Hampshire. We can be rest assured, in South Carolina too, over the next year. But the question is, how do you do it without it being too much, oversaturated, and how do you define his role?
Well, I think you have to start with Hillary Clinton coming out with her poor book rollout and realizing that, you know what, she's a little too early to be coming out. And I think bringing Bill along with her and letting her talk for 20 minutes and him talking for 45, it brings back the nostalgia of the former Clinton administration, gets people excited. You know, he polls very, very well. Let him take out front right now, at least until after the midterms, and then Hillary Clinton can come back into her own. Bill Clinton is a political genius, and I think he knows his role, and when he has to take a step back, I believe that he will. I think right now, let Bill just be Bill.
But we always see sometimes where a surrogate could end up defining, give their position on an issue, and then it becomes the spouse's position on an issue, or even the running mate's position on it. Is there a risk that he'll go out front and he'll talk about what he thinks should happen in the Middle East, or what he believes our role ought to be in Ukraine, or whatever else, and then she's got to spin or have the he doesn't speak for me moment, and then you question, well, what does he speak for? You know, is that going to be an inevitable in this campaign?
You know, listen, there is nobody in American politics on the Democratic side who wouldn't take Bill Clinton right now to be their surrogate. He is the superstar of the Democratic Party. He is the most popular member of the Democratic Party. I don't care if he talks for 10 hours. I would take him in a second if I was a candidate. So, yes, he can go on and on. Yes, he can stick her with issues. He was a little bit of a liability in 2008. You know what? She should take it, and she can take it, because this guy is the heart and soul of the Democratic Party.
Okay, but there is one variation of this, where you have a female candidate possibly going to make history, and the guy here just won't let it go.
Let's remember the Democratic Convention in 2012. He single-handedly gave the presidency to Barack Obama in 2012, I believe. So, you know, I do think there's a danger for any female candidate. Andrew? He's looking at me. He's giving me the look. He disagrees. But he did. Do you remember the convention?
No, of course he did. Yeah.
So, but, you know, look, that's always an issue for a female candidate. But you know what? Hillary Clinton's not going to be upstaged by Bill Clinton. She's there. She's strong. And he is her #1 supporter. I would take him in a second if I was her. Dominic?
Richard, if you don't believe that Bill Clinton is extremely effective, go ask Al Gore.
I agree with you.
Go ask Al Gore if maybe he should have dealt with Mr. Clinton's
but you've covered enough
Monica
campaigns.
liabilities.
But you've covered,
would have been in the White House.
Dominic, enough campaigns where the clock can be the enemy. who's the best candidate? The candidate that comes in out of nowhere but still has the resources to run an effective campaign, because nobody can define the person before it's too early. Everybody knows she's cleared the field, okay? So that said, how do they manage not, becoming sick to the public of hearing about the Clintons at every turn?
Because it comes down to, here we go again. She's going to pop her head out every couple of months. It's not going to be a daily thing. She went to Iowa. Ooh, why did Hillary Clinton end up in Iowa? Oh, is she running? Hillary Clinton was running the day she got out of the race to concede to Obama.
Yep.
That's the bottom line.
All right.
They're a magical 1-2 punch. And Hillary Clinton, this time around, they're going to make sure there's no Barack Obama anywhere.
Well, that's a perfect segue. Thank you, Dominic, because as we saw that happened recently in New York with the teach-out stuff and whatever, there's a left flank that the Democrats, especially those that are trying to move more to the middle here, right, like the Clintons, will they have to really contend with, a Warren or a Bernie Sanders or somebody else? Just not going to win, but somebody that's going to put up a primary fight and force them to have to pivot to the left here? Or do they really clear the field, not just in name only, but in actuality?
I think with Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont, he's certainly going to appeal to the liberal base. I don't think he's going to raise enough money to really get any message out there that's going to turn the dial too much. You have Governor O'Malley from Maryland, who certainly is going to talk about immigration as an issue. You have potentially Andrew Cuomo that's going to be talking, but I think he'll be more of a moderate than anything else. He's not going to go left. I don't see right now, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be anybody that's really going to turn the dial and give her a run for her money.
Not
but
a
it
run
is
for
possible.
money, but is there a risk that she's going to have to define herself in ways that she didn't want to before the general? That they're going to push her on making a commitment that there be no ground troops, or that they're going to push her to make a commitment on some social policy front that she didn't want to go as far as they're going to try and drag her out to? Is there a real risk for that?
Well, that's partly what happened to her last time, right? She was on the wrong side of the issue that most Democratic primary voters cared about, which was the war in Iraq. So absolutely, it's a danger going forward. She's been surprisingly hawkish, I think, looking at the Democratic Party today, because you're absolutely right with this movement left. So I think we could see her doing that. She also has some real issues with her closeness to Wall Street. So I think we may see her come out. I've always said that's her Achilles heel, is the relationship that Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton have with Wall Street. So I do think there's a danger that we see her do that, because Hillary Clinton, if nothing else, learns her lessons well. And that's what got her last time. Let's face it, Barack Obama was an incredibly attractive, well-organized candidate, but he was also on the right side of the issues, and he was new and fresh. And I think that's a danger.
Don't you think right now people are tired, even in the Democratic side, of the populist stuff? They just want somebody to come in that's going to get stuff done.
And that
We're
points
so
to Hillary's
tired of
hand.
8 years of just this. Whose ever fault it is, I'm not even blaming. I think they want somebody who's been there, done that.
But,
Remember her-
yeah.
go ahead,
No,
Professor.
I was just going to say, sorry, Doc, but that we're talking about primary voters, caucus voters, not the general public. Sorry.
Remember the ad she had, if the phone rings at 3 o'clock in the morning? She's the person that, in my opinion, polling indicates America wants. Somebody who's been there, can work with the other side, and the 1-2 punch of her and Bill can get things done. She is the next president of the United States.
But within the Democratic Party, at least for the primary purposes, the issue is wealth inequality and income inequality, and it will be Bernie Sanders. He will challenge her.
Bernie Sanders is not even on the radar.
It doesn't
He's not even on the radar. As a matter of fact, he'll be lucky if he's
got to
included.
keep her honest
He'll
in
be
terms of
lucky
at least
if he's in the debates. Bernie Sanders is not
at least
even-
appeasing to the base, the progressive base of the
To
Democratic
the
Party.
left, to the left, to the left.
Andrew Cuomo was singing the same
Andrew
song
Cuomo is
4
not a
months ago.
serious
Where is
candidate.
he right now?
I don't even know
All
why
of a
we're
sudden he's
talking
backing
about
over
Andrew
his
Cuomo.
tracks.
Andrew
What?
Cuomo is not a presidential candidate.
No.
No,
In the
he's saying in the
gubernatorial race,
primary
he was singing that
process,
same song. She's not a contender. She's not. I don't have to. I bet you now he kind of
But
wishes he had
Bernie
paid a little
Sanders,
attention to
if
the
you
issues
saw the
that she
Meet
was
the Press
pushing.
interview, really took a step back. He wouldn't take her on directly, and I think that's a sign that he knows,
He's
just
no
like everybody
competition.
else
Because
in the
Democrats
Democratic
want to
Party.
win,
They're
too.
not
And they know
gonna
that
take
she's
her
going
on.
to
They
win.
do
want to win, but they also want the core progressive issues at least addressed. And Hillary Clinton is open on that,
That's
especially
one
when it comes
segment
to
of the
her.
party.
It
One segment
is
of the
one
party.
segment of the party, but it's a segment of the party that at least wants to be heard from and will be heard from. And the question is, how does Hillary Clinton respond?
All right,
She's
well,
still going to win.
You guys mentioned New York, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about this subject, about Democrats And what about citizen rights for illegal immigrants? It's a bill that's moving its way through Albany right now, and there's certainly disagreement on it. Is this good or bad policy? We'll talk to the table about that after this.